Gabimaru is one of the most interesting modern dark shonen protagonists because his story is built around the paradox. The man called the Hollow is actually one of the most emotionally alive characters in the series. On paper, he sounds like the perfect killing machine. Viz describes him as one of the most vicious assassins from Iwagakure, a ruthless efficient shinobi who is sentenced to death after betrayal, then given a chance at freedom if he retrieves the elixir of life from a mysterious island. But that setup hides the real point of his character. Gabimaru is not compelling because he's a terrifying ninja, he is compelling because he's a terrifying ninja who wants to stop being one. That desire is what makes him radical. Most assassin characters in anime are written around coolness, silent movement, lethal skill, emotional detachment, and a tragic past. Gabimaru has all of that, but Hell's Paradise twists the formula. His coldness is not glamour, it's damage. His blank face is not proof that he has transcended emotion, it's proof that emotion was beaten out of him until he learned to survive by pretending nothing mattered. His entire identity as Gabimaru the Hollow is a mask created by Iwagakure, a village that raised human beings as tools and called emptiness strength. But Gabimaru's secret is that he was never truly hollow. The heart of his character is his wife, Yui. Gabimaru appears detached from life, yet he is deeply in love with his wife, the daughter of Iwagakure's leader. That love does not weaken his character, it reveals him. Yui gives Gabimaru something his village never allowed him to have, permission to be gentle. She does not love him because he is useful, lethal, or obedient. She loves the person beneath the weapon. And once Gabimaru experiences that kind of love, the lie of his upbringing collapses. Philosophically, Gabimaru is a character about deprogramming. His conflict is not simply survive the island, it's proof that the self I discovered through love is more real than the self created through violence. Iwagakure tells him he is hollow. His body tells him otherwise. His refusal to die despite claiming he wants death exposes the truth. Some part of him desperately wants to live. That inner contradiction is what Sagiri notices early. Gabimaru says he has no attachment, but his body resists execution. His instincts betray his ideology. He wants to believe he's empty because emptiness would make suffering easier, but love has already made that impossible. This is why Gabimaru's relationship with Sagiri is so important. Sagiri does not fix him, she reflects him. Both characters are trapped by inherited roles. Gabimaru as the shinobi executioner, Sagiri as the executioner who must suppress fear and doubt. Both are told that emotional hesitation is failure, but the series argues the opposite. Their humanity is not an obstacle to strength, it's the source of true strength. Gabimaru and Sagiri both have to learn that being calm does not mean being numb, and being strong does not mean killing the part of yourself that trembles. Gabimaru's abilities are fascinating because they mirror his tension between emptiness and life. His ninjutsu gives him monstrous physical capability. He can survive execution methods that should kill normal people, endure extreme injury, move with superhuman speed, and use flame-based techniques with terrifying efficiency. His fighting style is brutal, direct, and almost animalistic, but there is also technique underneath it. He's not just a berserker. He's a trained assassin whose body has been optimized through trauma. But ironically, Gabimaru could have used his abilities much more efficiently. His biggest tactical flaw is that he often relies too much on survivability. Because his body is absurdly durable and his pain tolerance is extreme, Gabimaru tends to brute force situations that could be solved more cleanly through stealth, misdirection, or layered assassination tactics. He was trained as a shinobi, but many of his major fights become direct confrontations. That makes sense emotionally. Gabimaru is angry, desperate, and often protecting others, but tactically he should fight less like a duelist and more like a ghost. An optimized Gabimaru would turn every environment into a kill zone before the enemy even understood the fight had started. His fire techniques could be used not just for damage but for oxygen denial, visual obstruction, forced movement, heat distortion, and psychological pressure. Instead of launching flames directly, he could burn escape routes, create smoke screens, hide movements inside heat shimmer, or use small bursts of fire to trigger enemy reactions. The best version of Gabimaru would not simply attack with fire, he would control how enemies are allowed to move. His durability also gives him unique bait potential. Because he can survive attacks others cannot, Gabimaru could intentionally invite strikes to expose weaknesses. weaknesses. But he would need to do this strategically, not emotionally. Rather than tanking damage out of stubbornness, he could create false openings, lure opponents into overcommitting, then counter at close range. His body is not just a shield, it's a psychological weapon. If an enemy lands a supposed fatal hit and Gabimaru keeps moving, their confidence collapses. He could also use his shinobi training more creatively in team settings. Gabimaru is often framed as a lone killer, but his best long-term role might be as a shock assassin supporting a balanced squad. Sagiri offers emotional steadiness and sword discipline. Gabimaru offers chaos, speed, and impossible survival. If he fully embraced coordination, he could act as the disruptive force that breaks enemy rhythm while allies deliver decisive attacks. His greatest weakness is not lack of power, it's the habit of isolation. That isolation comes directly from his personality. Gabimaru is quiet, blunt, and emotionally guarded. He does not trust easily because trust was never a survival skill in Iwagakure. He is also not naturally heroic in the traditional sense. He does not want to save the world, he does not care about glory, he does not seek justice. His dream is almost shockingly small: go home, live with his wife, and be left alone. But that small dream is exactly what makes him powerful. In a genre where characters often want to become kings, gods, legends, or symbols, Gabimaru wants domestic peace. He wants the right to be ordinary. That is philosophically profound because it challenges the idea that greatness must be tied to ambition. Gabimaru's greatest rebellion is not defeating monsters, it's refusing to let a violent world convince him that peace is too small a thing to fight for. This places Gabimaru near existentialist philosophy. Existentialism often argues that meaning is not handed down by institutions, bloodlines, or gods. Meaning is chosen. Iwagakure gives Gabimaru an essence: assassin, weapon, hollow man. But Gabimaru slowly rejects that essence through action. He chooses Yui, he chooses survival, he chooses connection. His life becomes meaningful not because the world approves it, but because he decides that one person, one promise, and one future matter enough to endure hell. The island itself becomes a symbolic test of that choice. Shinsenkyo is beautiful and horrifying at the same time, a place where paradise and hell overlap. That duality perfectly matches Gabimaru's internal world. He looks monstrous but loves deeply. He is trained to kill but wants peace. He claims emptiness but clings to life. The island externalizes its contradiction: beauty growing out of horror, life intertwined with death. His design reinforces everything. Gabimaru is visually simple but loaded with meaning. He is short, pale, scarred, with wild white hair and a deadpan expression. The anime gives him striking yellow eyes, while other descriptions note red eyes in the manga. His appearance makes him feel both childlike and corpse-like, which is exactly the point. He looks like someone who has survived too much too young. His white hair gives him an almost ghostly quality, as if he's already halfway between life and death, but his eyes are sharp and alive, cutting through the hollow image. His loose shinobi clothing also matters. It's practical and unflashy, the opposite of a heroic costume. Gabimaru does not dress to inspire fear or admiration, he dresses like a tool designed for use. Yet his exposed scars and compact muscular build reveal the truth beneath the plainness. This body has been shaped by violence. He's not ornamental, he's functional. His design says, "I was made for killing," while his story says, "I want to be more than what made me." This contrast is what makes Gabimaru so visually memorable. He does not need a loud design because his emptiness is the design. The blank stare, pale palette, and rough silhouette all communicate a person who has been stripped down to survival. And when his emotions break through, fear, anger, love, desperation, they all feel more powerful because the design is usually so restrained. What if Gabimaru never met Yui? The answer is brutal. He probably would have become exactly what Iwagakure wanted, a perfect killer with no reason to question orders. Without Yui, Gabimaru's hollowness might have hardened into reality. He would still be powerful, maybe even more efficient, but he would be spiritually dead. Yui does not give him weakness, she gives himself. What if Gabimaru had fully embraced Sagiri's philosophy earlier? He might have become more balanced much sooner. Sagiri's lesson is not that killing is always wrong, but that denying fear, grief, and hesitation makes a person brittle. If Gabimaru accepted his humanity earlier, his fighting style might have become less reckless. He would stop confusing emotional suppression with focus. He would become calmer, sharper, and less likely to burn through his stamina trying to overpower everything. What if Gabimaru chose power over returning home? That version of him would be terrifying because he has every ingredient for corruption, trauma, elite skill, monstrous durability, and a world that keeps rewarding violence. If Gabimaru decided that peace was impossible, he would become a villain who sees tenderness as a lie. In that timeline, the hollow stops being a mask and becomes a philosophy. But the real Gabimaru refuses that. That refusal is why he stands out. He's not morally pure, he has killed many people. He can be frighteningly pragmatic. But the series does not ask whether Gabimaru is innocent. It asks whether someone shaped by violence can still choose life. And his answer is yes. Not easily, not cleanly, but stubbornly. In the end, Gabimaru is not interesting because he's the hollow. He's interesting because he's not. He's a weapon trying to become a husband, a killer trying to become ordinary, a man who has walked through hell and still believes paradise might be something as simple as going home. Gabimaru's greatest ability is not ninjutsu, fire, durability, or assassination. It's the fact that after everything done to him, he can still want peace without feeling ashamed of it. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any anime characters you'd like me to analyze, drop them down in the comments below. You already know. JV out!